What's going on, everybody? Sean here from Afterlife Studios, and today let's go over how you compress hip-hop vocals. Now, if you find that you're watching my content a lot and you're enjoying it, do me the hugest favor, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell. I do a lot of live streams, and that is the best way to find out when I'm releasing new content, and hopefully you want to see that. First and foremost, what is compression? Compression is essentially taking the loudest part of a source and the quietest part of the source and squashing them together, making them more consistent. Now, compression has a couple different key parameters. You're going to have your threshold, which is where the compressor is going to kick in, at what decibel rating. You're going to have your attack, which is how fast it's going to compress down on the audio. You're going to have your release, which is how smoothly it will let go of the audio. You're going to have the makeup gain, which is once we're done compressing it, it actually makes it quieter. We're going to use the makeup gain to bring it back up to a normal volume. Then you have your knee, which is how aggressively the compression is going to grab onto the audio. So what are we looking for when we are compressing hip-hop vocals? Essentially what we're looking to do is to pin the vocal into the mix. We're looking at making the vocal more consistent, more energetic, and more confident. So hip-hop vocals, you're not looking to have these big, huge ups and downs like you would with like jazz vocals or like acoustic vocals, like acoustic guitar vocals. What we're looking to do is have a solid, consistent flow. So hip-hop, the key with it is not necessarily the dynamic range, it's all about cadence and flow. So if we can get the vocals to be pushed into the mix and to really, really push them in there, you're going to have a lot better mixes. For hip-hop vocals, what you're going to be looking for is one of two styles of compression: FET compression or optical compression. The FET is going to be for knocking down those peaks and making it more consistent, and the optical compression is going to be for fattening the vocal, making it more big sounding and more exciting sounding. So a lot of people are just using a track and then they're putting vocals on top of that. So the secret sauce to getting them to sit in that is compression, right? Particularly makeup gain. Now I'll go over that in a demonstration here in a second, but we'll show you kind of how to get your vocals to sit in the mix and to be really punchy and to be really articulate by using compression. So with that said, let's hop over to the computer. I'll give you guys a couple examples of how to compress hip-hop vocals in some different settings that might be beneficial to what you're working on. Alrighty, so I brought up a track that I recorded a couple days ago. It's by Mancini Lewan, and the track is called I Tried. So what I'm going to do is give you a demonstration of how to compress hip-hop vocals. I'm going to pull up my screen. Essentially what we're going to do first is listen to the track and listen for what it needs.
I cry for real. Life isn't fair, but that's why I don't ride the Ferris wheel. What goes around gon' comes around. I do believe that karma's real. Watch who you trust, cause people not who they say they is. Back in 9th grade.
Okay, so essentially the vocal needs to be more consistent, it needs to be more punched out, it needs to be more exciting. What I'm going to be using is a FET style compressor, so to make it more consistent. What we're going to do first is go ahead and let's talk about what the different knobs do. You have a couple different ones here. You have your threshold, which is where the compressor will kick in at what point past this number. So if it's -20, anything past -20 will be affected. You have your ratio, which is essentially for every, so let's say if you have a ratio of 5, every 5 decibels that goes over 20, it'll bring you down 1. So if it goes over 10 decibels over 20, it'll only go 2 over instead of 10. You have your makeup gain, which is bringing the volume back up, which essentially compression makes everything more quiet. You have your attack, which is how fast the compressor will kick into compression once it goes past that -20 decibels. And you have a release, which is how quickly it'll let go of the audio once it goes below that 20 decibels. There's also knee, which is how aggressively the audio will be compressed. So basically like the algorithm of how the audio is compressed. Usually you want a soft knee for a vocal and a hard knee for drums, if that helps. Now, so with hip hop vocals, the first thing we're going to do is let's get our threshold set correctly. And the way we're going to do that, let's get all these just randomly set. Down here at the bottom left of the screen, we have our fader that tells us how loud our track is. So we're going to listen to the track. And essentially, we're going
Greatest
to
spell
bring
from school,
down
yeah, I had to appeal. 1 year later was the first time that I tried to peel. In and out of trouble, yeah, that's when I lost my mind for real. I voice my pain in every song. Listen to just how I feel. I see my future, I'm feeling like Drake. I guess now life is good. Oh yeah, I'm God's child. Let's get that understood.
So basically what we're looking to do with this threshold is to find out where it's going to start catching those peaks on the audio. So it's peaking at -6, but it's RMSing around -18. So we're going to bring this probably about -21 so we can have a real consistent vocal. The next thing we're going to do is set our ratio. So with hip hop vocals, you want them to be decently consistent. People are not listening to hip hop vocals for the dynamic range of a vocalist. So they're listening to hip hop vocals for the cadence and the flow of the vocalist. So what we're going to be looking for is a ratio of anywhere from 4 to -6. So the more consistent you want it to be, the higher you want the ratio knob. So for the most part, I'm doing right about 5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set our attack. So let's start it all the way at 0. Let's go ahead and play the song.
The first time that I cry for real.
And what we're going to do is we're going to release
I don't ride the Ferris
this
wheel. What
attack
goes around
knob
comes around. I do
until
believe
the
that karma's
sounds
real.
exciting
Watch who
again.
you trust, cause people not who they say they is. Back in 9th grade, a spell from school, yeah, I had to appeal.
Okay. So right about 40 milliseconds, I'm getting that excitement back in the vocal. And that's basically where the attack needs to be set. So what we're going to do next is set the release of the track. We're going to start it back down at 0 milliseconds as well. And we're going to do that same process. We're going to make it slower and slower and slower and slower until it sits in the beat.
1 year later was the first time that I tried to peel. In and out of trouble, yeah, that's when I lost my mind for real. I voice my pain in every song. Listen to just how I feel. I see my future, I'm feeling.
Okay. So at about 660 milliseconds, it's releasing it in a way that makes it sit better in the beat and makes everything sound more consistent. So from here, what we're going to do, now we've got all the settings set, we're going to figure out what the makeup gain needs to be. So what we're going to do is listen to it on and off and see what the big volume jump is. So a lot of times when people are using compression, they get mixed up and they think because it sounds louder that it is better, which is a big problem. Not always is louder better. The last phase of setting up compression for hip hop vocals is to set the makeup gain. What we're going to do is listen to it with it off.
The first time that I cry for
And we're
real.
gonna flick it
Life
on
isn't
and
fair,
off.
but that's why I don't ride the Ferris wheel. What goes around comes around. I do believe that karma's real. Watch who you trust, cause people not who they say.
Okay, so the compressor is definitely quieter than the actual track. So let's bring it up. Let's bring it up 1 decibel and we'll turn it on and off again until we have the right makeup gain.
Say they is. Back in 9th grade, a spell from school, yeah, I had to appeal. 1 year later was the first time that I tried to peel. In and out of trouble, yeah, that's when I lost my mind for real. I voice my pain in every song. Listen to just how I feel. I see my future, I'm feeling like Drake. I guess now life is good. Oh yeah.
Okay, so we were compressing at about 3 to 4 decibels. And we're having to make it up about 2 in order to get it to sit back to where it was sitting volume-wise. So when you're setting makeup gain, make sure that it's the same volume. It's easy. Our ears can be tricked relatively easy to think something is better because it's louder. So pay attention for that. Always turn the compression on and off to make sure that what you're doing is actually improving the audio and not just A, making it louder, or B, that it's making it worse. So always turn that on and off and make sure that it's improving what you got going on. So hopefully this demonstration made compressing hip hop vocals a little bit easier to understand. I try to keep it simple. A lot of these tutorials I hear, they're very complicated. It makes it difficult to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So I was trying to keep it in layman's terms as much as I could and trying to keep it going fast paced so you can learn it quickly. Seeing it happen, like what the workflow is like, trying to make the vocals sit better. Always remember, start at the absolute fastest and release it slower and slower until it fits. I mean, there's no secret settings. That's the best way of doing it, making sure that it fits in your particular track. If you have any questions about any of this, leave me a comment down below. I just want to give a quick shout out to anybody that's been supportive. So if you dig this content, definitely hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell if you want to see more cool content to help you get better at mixing. And with that being said, stay humble, stay hungry, something else inspirational. Peace out.